Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kelly, and today I'm joined by my best friend, Ernesto Cobian. Me and Ernesto, also known as Biggie or Pastor Biggs, have been doing ministry together for a long time. He is currently the executive director of the Christian Prison Ministry of Middle America. I've asked him to come on the show today because he's spearheading some amazing stuff in the prison systems and reaching people for Christ. He has some awesome stories, so let's get right into it. All right, welcome to the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast, and I'm really excited about our episode today because I have one of my probably my best friend of all time.
Oh, really? All right. I like that. I'll say that. So I'm your best friend, but I'm not sure if you're my best friend. I'm joking. Now you are my best friend.
Yeah.
Much love. You know I love you, dog.
I know. So I'm here with Ernesto Cobian, and he and I work together at Maranatha Chapel in San Diego, and I was doing missions, he was doing outreach, and, you know, we really, I feel like we became best friends almost overnight.
Yeah, it was, man. You showed my
You know what I mean?
What do you think it was?
I don't know. Was it just we're both good looking? We're both got a good sense of humor. You
That's
know,
probably
just
it. You know, I was thinking
not that first one, but probably the second one. Sense of humor.
Yeah. That and probably good looking. You know.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, too. And also shoes. So one thing that you need to know about our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is have you ever heard the term? I'm asking our audience here, sneakerheads.
Yeah.
That's you're not like extreme though.
Nah, I changed.
Okay.
I changed.
You have.
It's like crazy. I mean, I had one too many. I it was to a point sometimes that I had 100 pairs, bro.
Bro.
Yes.
I remember one time you told me, this is how I knew it was serious, where we had to almost do an intervention. You told me, if there's a fire in my house, I'm going to save my family.
Right. First, of course.
Right. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. That's a good start.
That's a good.
And then none of the memorabilia, none of the other stuff. Shoes.
Yes.
I'm getting my shoes.
I did.
And those shoes, some of them didn't even see the light of day. They've never been worn.
That's very true, man. Man.
So
true story. You know, I have shoes. And so, you know, pray for me. But now, actually, I've changed a little bit now, though.
Have you?
Yeah, I got too many kids, man. And my son wants to wear my shoes. And I'm like, bro, those are expensive. They're basketball shoes, but they're not meant to play basketball in them. They're for weddings, you know, graduations, you know, special occasions.
Yeah, special occasions, if you're lucky.
I've changed a little different now.
Okay.
You know, I'm getting older. My feet hurt.
Me too. I knew we were going to be friends when you gave me multiple pairs of shoes.
I did.
You gave me two pairs of Jordans.
I did. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I knew this was serious. You know.
I remember giving them to you like this.
Yeah. Hey, like the Lion King.
Like the Lion King. I was like, here we go. Hey, cherish this. You know what I'm saying?
My gift to you.
You know what? I have issues when my friends or some people were like, hey, so should I throw the boxes away? Like, no, man, you keep the boxes.
Keep the boxes. Come on.
So,
come on.
Yeah, but,
all right. So what we got enough of the reminiscing. We can do that off the mic. But Ernesto is, like I said, been involved in ministry for a long time. He worked with Pastor Miles McPherson at the Rock Church in San Diego for a little while. And he is currently in... Where do you live again?
Jefferson City. He's like, where you live? What's your best friend?
Yeah, where's my best friend live?
Yeah, Jefferson City, Missouri. Oh, Missouri.
I knew it was Missouri. I was about to say Kansas City, but I never heard of Jefferson City. So
yeah, not a lot of people have. It's like the capital, though. It's a capital. Yeah.
All right.
So So Jefferson City, Missouri, as they call it.
Missouri. All right. And Ernesto is working with a ministry. And the ministry is called the Christian Prison Ministry of Middle America.
That's right.
And not only is he working with this ministry and working with inmates, preaching the gospel, making disciples, doing his thing, but you've actually just been promoted to the director of the ministry, right?
Yeah, executive director has been a blessing. Just kind of, looking at what is the next, phase for the ministry. So yeah, it's been a blessing, man. Hey, I gotta say something though. I'm glad. When how we best friends, right?
Yeah, I know.
But it's like when we moved here about 2 years ago or so, and I began to just kind of get into just what's happening here. I called you, texted you, said, "Hey man, do you want the church, to bless us, to contribute to the ministry?" And you say, "Yeah." So you were one of the first churches that began to support us. So I want to thank you for that, man. That's much love.
Yeah,
so,
and as with many other ministries, it's donor supported. It's not. So it's a parachurch ministry. So it's upon the churches to be able to support that. I'm going to put you know what I'm going to do? Not only that, because, we were happy to do that, happy to support, because I knew you, and this is something we learned from our old pastor, Pastor Ray Bentley, rest in peace.
Amen, rest in peace.
He taught us supporting ministries is about relationships. And I knew you, I knew your heart for the Lord and for ministry, and I knew whatever you were going to be involved in is something I wanted to get behind in our church. And we've been blessed to be able to support that, because getting the newsletters, finding out about what's going on. So I'm going to put that link. I'll do you one better. I'll put that link in the show. So if you're listening to this, prisoners are coming to the Lord in the thousands. And, you can get on there and support that. Okay. Christian Prison Ministry of Middle America is, this is a podcast about church planting. And I thought to myself, you know what? Where do you ever use this joke? Do you ever say, we've got a captive audience?
No. No, but my brother, I'll put him on blast. He comes with me sometimes. And one time he was like, you guys not going anywhere, so you guys can do this. And I'm like, bro, you can't stay. We're gonna get stabbed, You know what I mean. I know what you mean.
I know what you mean.
You know what you mean. Yeah. But you don't want to say that.
So
captive audience here.
A captive audience, yeah. But what better place to be involved in ministry? Just don't say that, right, when you go in.
You don't want to
I need to come visit, because I need to come and see hands-on what's going on.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Come and preach, man. Because I'm in 5 prisons locally, right? On a weekly basis, which is awesome. Now,
and how many criminals do you have there in Carson City? What's it called? Jefferson City.
Jefferson City. Apparently a ton. In Jeff City, though, there's 2 prisons. One is a maximum security, and one at our lower level security. I mean, the lower level, you still got to be, you got to be mindful. And
it's still a prison.
But there's a housing that it's like the favorite housing. They do barbecues and all that. They're like, "Hey, do some barbecue with us." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm good, but appreciate it, man." It's a little interesting. And the other ones are about 30 to an hour away from here, so I got to drive up. But they're not that close,
All right. So I'm curious about this myself. That's why I wanted to have you on. And as far as like church planting and discipleship, there's churches in prisons. A lot of people don't realize this. The prison population has churches inside of them.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's one, we go on Wednesday nights and here locally, and they have about 70, 80 guys come in on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Worshiping God. It just, you see them, they're raising their hands, and we get to teach and preach and just encourage.
Yeah.
I do on Sundays, I go to different churches kind of to give update of what's going on, those who kind of support us like yourself. Yeah. And this is the question I get asked a lot. They're like, hey, Pastor Biggs, those guys who go out there, are they faking it, And I said, that's not really our job to figure out if they're faking it or not. We're here to share the gospel and encourage them. And I said, you get it twisted. There's people in your church sitting in pews who are faking it. So,
You think people in prison are faking it? What about people in the pews? They're faking it too.
Oftentimes, more times than not, people that I talk to, the guys that I talk to, right? they're broken. I mean, they hit bottom. They're like, hey,
yeah.
Right. And so it's a blessing to just be able to see him. But it's actually cool. It's really hard for me to get a camera, and especially in Missouri. And so I'm working on that to get some footage so I can send it to people like the church and so on and so forth to see what God is doing. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's definitely churches, happening.
Yeah, I follow this Instagram account called God Behind Bars. Do you know about that one?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got, and they I don't know if they're allowed to or not, but they bring their cameras in, their phones in, film some of this stuff.
They have some in Florida, right?
Yeah, they do.
Different state has different regulations.
Different rules,
It's very friendly. And so you can come in, like if I go there tomorrow with my ID, especially the corrections ID, they're like, hey, come in, no big deal. Here, the process is long,
it's hard to get in.
Right.
That's one of the questions I had is how difficult would it be for someone to get involved in a prison ministry, especially someone who has a heart for church planting, because I got to imagine, I mean, you're dealing with the prisons around you, but I got to imagine there's certain prisons that don't have that Christian church or that witness there that would need, a church plant in a prison. You know what I mean? Right. How hard is it to get in? I mean, different states are different rules, but what's the process for you?
Yeah, here it is somewhat difficult, right? Each prison though has its difficulties, but sometimes they're a little more flexible than others, right?
Okay.
But it takes a little time, and this is why we, our ministry is hoping and praying about, what is the next step or phase for our ministry that people want to get involved. How can I get involved? EC Access, I call it EC Interest or EC Access Ministry. I want to get involved. I don't want to go in, but I do have a heart for those who are broken or in prison. And so that's what we find ways, because the process is long. It sometimes takes months. And
dang.
You have to go and show up. If you don't show up, it starts all over again. So people get discouraged. Yeah. And so we're finding ways. So every time we go in there, the guys are very thankful and grateful. They're like, hey, man, thanks for being here. Because
they know what a commitment it is for you to go through that whole process and to be there. Right. Well, that's a good thing to know. And if you're local, I'm sure you could point people in the right direction of sister ministries and stuff in the different states that they're in.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get your email and your website and give them put it on the show notes. So
whoever's interested in
connect,
how can they help out? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I saw Justin Bieber in prison one time singing. What's up with that? Did he have to wait 6 months?
He probably did it, you know what I'm saying? But no, come in.
Come on. Who was that? There was just a rapper in prison. I feel like there's a lot of rappers in prison. There's got to be.
Yeah.
But I got encouraged by that Instagram account, obviously from your content and your emails and stuff, but that Instagram account that showed baptisms in prison, and they're saying there's kind of revival in prison. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the reality, I feel maybe I'm just being biased, right? Because that's what I do, but I feel like, man, something's happening. Something's happening as we speak. God is moving. He moves in every way, shape, or form. But I feel like, there's something's happening right now. Like I said, 70, 80 guys and prisoners just been broken. And really, as I look around, I'm like, man, they're really worshiping God. They're just, happy, enjoying, and they deal with struggles on a daily basis. So yeah, man, I definitely can see that. And I follow that the Instagram as well, and I'm very encouraged to see that, man, God is doing some cool things.
It seems like a place like, they often say like you got to hit rock bottom before you can find the Lord, and that's probably rock bottom for a lot of these guys in prison. Is like they've tried it all, they ended up there, they got no hope, their families left them, they got no connections.
Oftentimes, some of these guys they don't get visits, so they don't get any visits. Some of the guys do, but man, I'll tell you some stories. But yeah, they're broken and they need something. One guy came to me and said, "Hey, man, I tried everything. I'll just try this Jesus thing." He called it. It's not about trying it all, but yeah, God's gonna heal you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's a place. Not everyone who's there want to be sold out for Jesus,
Yeah.
And so the difficulty, oftentimes, this is a legit thing. The difficulty is that when they're in there, right, and they're just worshiping God, and they're excited because they go to the chapel and they're on fire. They're like helping one another, encouraging one another. Now they go into the yard. Now they got to deal with reality, right?
Man.
And so I was told a few times from some of the guys said that if you come into the prison and you say you're Christian, right, they'll watch you, right?
Okay.
If you act different, and they'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
But if you act differently, oh man, they treat you worse as that. And so they it's kind of interesting.
I never thought about that because you're right. Like, I mean, I've been to. I don't know if you knew this about me, ladies and gentlemen, and you, my buddy, but I went to jail one night. I've been in jail one night. Yep.
I didn't know that.
I've been to jail when it was like 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. And really? I hope my parents aren't listening because I never told them about it. Because when you're 18, you don't got to tell your parents.
Right.
Because I was still living at home. But yeah, I got put in jail because it was a minor in possession of alcohol and drunk in public, whatever the charge is. Right. It was before I was a Christian, okay? It was a bogus charge. But that's been my experience with like incarceration. You know what I mean?
It's funny you said that, right? So I guess some other ministries come in, right? As this on Fridays we do this kind of like all around worship. So different ministries will come in, and so people will be like, "Oh, how you doing? What's your name?" And they're like, "Oh man, you really connect with these guys." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I have a heart for them." They're like, "Well, because why?" Like, why? And I go, "Why?"
Why?
Well,
you know why.
Like, and I'm like, "No, I've never been in prison. Actually." They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" And hey, you know what? Here's something funny though. One time, so there's different housings, right? So you got housing 1, 2, 3, 4, and so in every single housing there's a CO. It kind of watches everything. And one time I walked in. And this guy's like, "Man, get back in the cell." And I'm like, "I work here." "Oh, my bad." Like,
you're back in the cell. You're lucky they didn't throw you down. Hey, you got an escaped prisoner.
That's true. That was the funniest thing. I was like, "No, oh, never mind. Sorry."
Bro, that's discrimination.
It is,
You know what I mean? You got profiled.
I got profiled in prison. That was funny.
Hey, but it's like a perfect fit though. That says something. It's like God's kind of it's funny to joke about, but it's like God's kind of made you that person for that reason.
And I love it actually, because try to be myself, just the way I am, and so they can relate, and I'm trying to share the certain encouragement, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest issues that we have, besides them coming in, is the return rate. When they come back to prisons is high.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes in 70s, 80s, 90s,
Dang.
And so, we want to, kind of, reverse. I tell them, when we're in here, we want to break generational curses because this keeps happening,
Yeah.
And so try to encourage them not to come back. But
what do you got? What are some of the things you tell them or suggest that they do when they get out? Like, you have churches you work with where you're like, "Hey, go see this church," or what's the process?
Yeah. So right now, the issue in a sense is there's not a lot of churches that want to bring them in, and so I'm trying to work with churches to encourage them. What does it look like to?
I never thought about. I mean, I guess I should have, but
they, by default, we're human. We go, "Ooh, you're a criminal," right? It's like.
Yeah.
Right. And so they get very discouraged oftentimes, right? And so I'm trying to encourage people, hey, have a plan. I often tell them, hey, if you can have a class, it's called Celebrate Recovery. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but
yeah, it's good.
So if you can have a class, that's one way to get them in. You just gotta get them, disciple, get them involved. And I tell them, they don't have to do offering, right? Obviously, or children's ministry, but somehow, watch them, but make them feel like they're part of a community, right? And so some people go, "Oh, okay, yeah." But that's kind of one of the things that, and so when we work in our ministry, Christian Prison Ministry, is okay, we want to create this called Freedom Center, right?
Yeah.
A transitional homes as well here locally. So when people come in, they get out, we want to disciple them for a year or so, see them walk and just kind of help them get back into normality in a sense. But
yeah, that's a good ministry of follow-up. It's like that follow-up. We do that with church planting too, where it's like you don't just do the discipleship, do the training and stuff like that. Once they're sent out, in your case, once they get out,
right.
Following up, like how you doing, continuing with those Bible studies and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because, a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. I teach a class, right? And so this guy comes in and he's sitting down waiting for everybody to show up. And I say, hi, spark a conversation. How you doing? What's going on? And he says, good. And I said, I forgot how we got into it. He said, yeah, I get off next year, in a year from now. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. And he said, yeah. And I said, you don't look too excited, man. What's going on? He says, well, to be honest with you, I was supposed to be here for life. He goes, and I got here when I was 17 or turned 18. I've been here for 20 years, he says.
Whoa.
I've been in this institutional life for 20 years.
How do you adjust?
Right. He goes, I'm used to it. Now I'm about to get out. Although I talk to people, I see TV on the TV, talk to my kids. I don't know what to expect. I'm scared. He was legit scared, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I was like, wow.
That's crazy.
And so that kind of really sparked a desire to go, okay, well, Lord, we got to do something. What is it, Lord? So that's the reality.
That's so good because it's like that follow-up. I mean, I was on the mission field for 10 years. I mean,
yes.
I often would tell many, and whoever would listen.
I was 37 when I met you, but it's fine. Yeah, that's cool. Hey.
See, that's why I didn't want to have you on the show, because I didn't want you to expose all my, 7 years.
It was been 10 years.
But that whole like transitioning out of one environment, that's culture shock. That's what it's called. So, even when you go to a mission field, you have culture shock into a new environment. And then when you get out, it's called reverse culture shock, because you got so used to where you were, you have to learn how to live in your home again. Right. And that's a similar thing. But in the solution, I think, is the same. Get in that community, get in that church, get in that Bible study, in that halfway house that has the discipleship program that you're doing, that sort of thing. So that's encouraging.
A lot of churches, we don't know how to deal with that, right? My local church that I go to here, it's funny. It's like this guy came in one time. He was talking to somebody. He's like, hey, I was in prison. I just got out. And so this guy kind of freaked out a little bit. He's like, oh, hey, what's Pastor Big? And he brought him to me like, here we go. And he laughed. I was like, where you going, man? And he took off. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know what to do with this. It's like a little bomb. It's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, here, take it.
I was like, okay,
hot potato.
Yeah, exactly. Hot potato. And I'm like, hey, man. And so we began talking, but I was just laughing. My brother and I were laughing because, we're in the ministry and we're like, oh, it's funny. But I realized, oh, that's what it is,
Yeah. Is that something like, what would you say to someone who doesn't have, let's call it like street smarts or a relatability with that kind of prison environment? Is someone like that able to go in and do ministry in prison? Like, should they get involved? Like, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, to be honest, oftentimes people are like, who don't have any street ministry are the best one, right? Because they want to, right? I have other guys who try to be extra tough.
Oh, they try to show off.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, bro, like, just be yourself, because you're going to get beat up here, man. I'm telling you, right?
Because they're tougher in here than you are.
Exactly. And so they'll be like, hey, what's going on, I mean, they're people, you got to respect them, you got to love them, you got to, treat them with respect. And so it's oftentimes those people who just like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Those are the ones that, they see, oh, they're genuine. They want to be here, And so, so it's just kind of be yourself. I tell people like, hey, if you are funny, be funny. If you're not, then just be yourself, right? So
what if you think you're funny, but then you're not? Should you still continue to try?
Yes.
Asking for a friend.
Ask for a friend. I think you should,
That's
you should
good.
tell jokes. And they're like really quiet and people look at you like, what's going on?
Yeah. You know how it is.
I love it, bro. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. So I got people, let's say someone wants to get involved long-term. What would it look like as far as like starting a ministry or getting involved? Would you recommend just connecting with people that are already doing it? Because I imagine there's like your ministry is a great one. There's others that are already doing it.
Yeah, I think if somebody wants to, hey, man, I have a desire to do those things, connect with somebody who's doing it already and just say, hey, what are you doing? How can we come alongside and how can we grow it and help, within? I mean, there's a lot of need. There's no one individual, that just doing it. Matter of fact, I'm doing that myself. There's another ministry here that locally say, hey, what are you guys doing that we're not doing that we can just collaborate?
Join up together, yeah.
So we can, bless people and so on and so forth, And so I think that's one of the things, connect, have a heart for it, But I think one of the biggest ones that I've seen, because not everybody wants to go into prison though. That's just another desire to call,
Yeah.
And so how can, I'm encouraging people to say, hey, how can your churches locally get involved and when those guys come out, they have a place they can call home and be able to minister. You got to be watchful, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest things,
Yeah, man. I don't know I know there are people that want to, and I know that you have a heart for that. But it's intimidating. It's intimidating to think about that, because we've seen the TV, we've seen movies, we know what it's like in prison.
No, I mean, when the doors close, they're closed for reals,
Yeah, they're locked.
Yeah, you go, oh my goodness, and so yeah, it's a little bit intimidating, So prayer is huge. I'll tell you a story that one time, so and maybe I'm gonna scare people, but I was there one time and I walked in there, teaching, and as I'm walking out, right, man, I see this like 5 guys coming in. They were officers.
Okay.
Move. And I'm like, yo, you got guns. I'm moving out of the way, And so they ran into the yard and I just took off. So the very next week, I asked the class, hey, man, what happened last week? It's all Pastor, man. As soon as you left, man, we got 2 stabbings, right? I was like, oh. You're like, it's happening, And so you go, wow, okay, Lord, And so I got to be prayerful all the time, regardless if it's... But on the other side, man, it's like they're so thankful that we show up, right?
I like that. Yeah, they're thankful. Yeah,
they're so thankful. They try to protect you. They try. I go to another prison. It's kind of interested. I got another prison that every time I'm done, teaching a class or preaching a service, as I'm walking out to outside, I have 2-3 guys just kind of like walk me out.
Yeah.
We're just talking, but they always wait for me as I'm putting my stuff away and they walk me out. They're not saying that, but I just like, it's a God thing. So they're always thankful and grateful when you're there because they know you're taking time out of your life to go on and minister
for them.
So they're very grateful. So you always, I never seen have any issues with that,
Yeah, and probably across the board, because I know there's different factions and groups in prison, and it seems like something, even like when you're ministering to people who are maybe in down and out situations, criminal situations, it seems like there's always a respect for the religious, for those who are, representing God in that sense. And that's interesting because man, because if I go to prison, God forbid, I've never done anything except for that one time.
Right.
When I was 18, but if I go to prison, you kind of think about it. As we were getting ready to talk about this episode, I'm like, man, what would it be like to get sent to prison? Right. I think that sometimes, like, oh, what would I do? Because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm I wouldn't. I'd have to join like a group, but I was wondering, is there a Christian group I could join? Yeah. Could I join the Christian club?
I'll talk. Excuse me, sir. Yes.
Can I? Where are the signups? It's like at church where you have the home group signups. Where are the group signups?
Where are the signups? So I can join. Christian, I'm here. Some bogus charges once again. Excuse me, sir. Yes, me. Yes, hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Get your butt, sir, please.
Yeah, could I? What are my options here?
What are my options here? I don't like that.
Yeah. Ooh, but I like that because, and I've seen that too, just in doing street evangelism and stuff like that. You get to talking to people, and even the most hardened, like criminal-looking people, if you come up representing the Lord, there's kind of a respect. I think it's built into a lot of these cultures, even within the criminal element, that there's that respect. So,
and it's from both sides, meaning from those prisoners, and when you come in, they're checking you out. Like, what do you hear about? Are you here just to, what's going on? So, and they see you have a heart. They show love, and it's cool. It is a blessing. One of the things that is kind of crazy that they're like, hey man, can you teach a class? And a lot of them want to learn about how to become husbands.
Really? Like family stuff.
Yeah, the family stuff. Those who get saved, right? Man, And so right now I'm in the process of kind of creating my own curriculum of teaching about relationships. And I teach a class called, I want to tell you because it's kind of cool. I teach this class called Inside Out Dads, right?
Okay.
It's really, what does it look like to be a father, right? Now, this class or this curriculum, it's like certified by the board, and then if you take it, the DOC approves it, and when they go see their parole officers or the board, they can say, "Hey, man, I'm trying to do right." They have two curriculums: a Christian and non-Christian. So as you can imagine, the non-Christian is the one that is approved; the Christian is not. So what I've been doing, and some you can pray for me, hopefully, is that I teach the non-Christian, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
I want to get everybody. And so my first introduction, I say, "Hey, guys, welcome to the class. Hey, my name is Pastor Biggs." And I tell them, "Hey, it's not a Christian class." And I tell them, "It's not a Christian class. I'm not here to get you saved, but I am, right?"
Yeah.
So, but I tell them, you'll hear some scripture talked about when what I've learned to be a father.
This is in the prison. This is in the prison.
In the class. Yeah. And so I got to give them a heads up. So they go, "Oh, we good." And no big deal. So they're giving me that permission to go ahead. So I use that, the time throughout the class to, preach the gospel and tell them what it looks like.
Wow.
And so it's
and they don't give you any problems for the overseers or anything?
No, which is cool because for one, I say, "Hey, kind of ask for permission in the way." And through the process, they realize, "Oh man, it's cool, right?" And I said, "You don't have to agree," I tell them, right? But because you're not slamming it down their throats. You're not forcing them into anything. It's like, what does marriage look like, right?
Right. It's like, God's design is. It's like
whatever you do is not working right now, And so when I teach that class, my kids here said, "Dad, are you even qualified to teach that class?" I'm like, "Fool, alive, empty."
How many kids you got now? Like 10?
Yeah, just 5.
Just 5. That's it.
Yeah, but it's a blessing because then I get all kinds of different people from different religions, even Christians that come in and
in the class.
One of the benefits is blessing. So that's kind of cool.
Man, that's good. You're thinking on your feet, getting involved there. I didn't realize that about the approved and disapproved curriculums because you can teach. Are you allowed to teach like at the religious meetings? You're allowed to teach kind of whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and when people don't know this too, is that if you you're Christian, only Christian people can come. Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So when you come in, when you go into the prison,
the Christian club,
they ask you, "Hey, which religion are you?"
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you pick one, let's say you say, "Oh, Muslim," for whatever, right? Yeah. And through the process of being there, like in a year, you get saved. You can't change it.
Really?
Until next year. I'm going to change it.
So you redo it every year.
Yeah, we do it every year. It's interesting.
And then you can't attend the meetings if you're designated as Muslim. You can't go to the Christian meeting. Oh man,
so it's interesting, and so that's why
I guess it's not a free country in there, huh?
Not really. Excuse me. You violated my rights.
My prison rights.
Yeah. Okay. But so what I'm trying to figure out is I'm trying to do this. I'm working with this guy. It's called AIC. He's kind of in charge of all the classes. How can I get? He's a Christian guy. How can I get guys come in and hear the gospel? Because that's my whole thing. I want to hear the gospel. Because I've met with a lot of these guys, and even those Christian guys. When you talk about the gospel, what it looks like to live for Jesus, man, they have no idea.
They have no idea. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is even if someone writes down Christian on their thing, that just what does that even mean to most people?
Right.
I mean, you could take it, like you said, people in the pews in the church, you tell them to write down there and they'll say Christian, but they don't know.
Right. So it's a good opportunity. I don't assume that they're all saved, right? And so every time I go there, we teach a class and we teach a Bible study. I'm always preaching the gospel.
Yeah.
Because
you never know.
Especially here in the Midwest, though. Like one thing I've realized is baptism is huge, right?
Okay.
You're submerged. And so,
yeah.
So it's like, "Oh yeah, can I get baptized?" Like, well, what do you mean? So I have to walk them through the process, right? That does not save you. It just, you're doing it. Hey, I did it in my heart. It's just a reflection or a publicly, telling people, hey, I'm a Christian. They go, oh, okay, so you got to break it down, you know? So.
Dang, man. It sounds like a super interesting ministry. Not only that, but needed, because imagine going to a place like, what keeps sticking with me is what you said. Like, they're so appreciative of people coming in and going in there and being with them. And imagine going to some place where they just really appreciated like you being there. And obviously they're going to give you their attention then. Yeah. You know,
they're very thankful and grateful, like you said. And you go, man, oh, wow. You know, some of the churches that don't even, they look forward for people to come in. Matter of fact, they rotate different housings. And one housing said to me, man, we're waiting for you to come. And I was like, well, I've been here. I said, well, what I meant was we're waiting for the chaplain to put us in a rotation, but we haven't had church for 3 weeks.
Oh.
Right? I was like, oh, man, I'm sorry, you know? And so I try to talk. So I try to connect with the chaplains and say, hey, how can we get anybody involved? But, you know,
so what do you need, kind of wrapping this up a little bit, what do you need personally for your ministry to be more effective? Do you need volunteers? Do you need money? I know you need money. That's
right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds so, so cliche, but prayer is huge, bro. Like if you can, prayer. I mean, because, you know, stories that I told you, one of the prisons I walked in one time, usually it's two of us, my partner called me and said, hey, man, I can't make it. You're on your own. I said, no big deal. So I showed up and the CEO said to me, hey, Pastor, man, you're big enough. We low staff. You're going to be there by yourself. And I'm like, oh, really? So here we go, you know, and support is huge. You know, here we go. And I'm prayed up. So, you know, one of those things, pray for me, pray for us, for the ministry itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, if you're locally, if you know, hey, how can I help is get involved. But I think the biggest one right now, too, will be money-wise. And I mean by financially, I mean, we're hoping to expand or start this Freedom Center. Right.
Okay.
So people can get involved when they get out, you know.
So that's the thing you were talking about, people having a place to go when they're out.
Place to go, discipleship, you know, so on and so forth. So that's probably one of the biggest ones, but really prayer, just kind of, hey, you know, spread the word, you know. And if you're in the locally, wherever you're at, it's like, hey, how can I connect with the church, you know, and help? So some churches says, hey, how can we help start a Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate recovery. Okay, that's a good word.
Brings them in, you know, it's a lot of commitment, but he brings them in. You can disciple them and see where they're going. You know,
and I feel like that's the words of Christ, to be a voice to those who are the marginalized, those who are outside of, you know, accepted society. Like, it's a sacrifice. You're gonna start a recovery ministry. It's a sacrifice.
It is.
But it's needed. I mean, it's not the whole that are needed of a physician, but those who are sick.
Yeah, definitely. So
what's the website?
Is www.cpma-org.
Christian Prison Ministry, CPMMA.org. CPMMA.org. I'll put that on a link in the show notes, and I encourage people to just get connected. Biggie, so good to have you on the show.
Hey, it's good to see you, man.
Save some of those shoes for me. I know you're size 11 and a half. I'm size 10 and a half. But, you know, I just stuffed a little. I stuffed a...
That's it, baby. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Nobody knows.
It's great seeing you again. Thanks for being on the show, and let's keep in touch. All right. God bless. Thanks for listening. The Cultivate Church Planting Podcast is part of CGN Media, a podcast network that points to Christ. Check out cgnmedia.org for more great shows and ways to support the ministry.